Um, Thank you so much for joining us today. And we also, unfortunately, have two people who could not join us because of similar situations of falling ill and not wanting to risk contaminating or spreading whatever they may have with the rest of the crowd. But those of you who have joined us, I thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for joining us, like, yes, sprinting and coming here. This is a really important topic. And I know that because the last panel actually ended with a question talking about brain drain. Because there is that idea that people study in good schools or have good education, intelligent students choose to go abroad. And right now there is a lot of discussions about, we have the NAP 2020, we have committees being formed, we have a lot of new ideas coming into the education sector, and all of that is with this goal to make India a global education hub. But now, being a global education hub is not just about trying to stop brain drain or trying to get foreign students into India. It's also about kind of establishing India as an academic-oriented nation. And it's about sort of reaching our highest potential and in providing quality education for the masses. And it goes beyond competition. It goes to a much larger level of being a, what we see as a developed, futuristic country that is, on the side of progress. And that's why, this is such an important conversation to be had today. And I'm so glad to have all of you here today to have this very same discussion. Now, I would like to start with Dr. Chitkara, if you may. Let's get into the crux of the matter. What are the challenges in our way to making India into a global education hub?
Good afternoon and giving me the time. Thank you, BW, that we all are here because of them. And good afternoon to everybody. It's a very pertinent question which you asked. Reason being that international education is very, very expensive, and the investment on this, on the part of the students and the parents, is too much. So if you want to make the India a destination for global students to come here, first of all, we have to understand that the environment, the policies, the systems, that has to be very much into the global level. Now, first of all, if you see our country, when they are coming, and if we are talking about the brain drain, and if we are going abroad. So first of all, if I want to go to Harvard, or I want to go to Stanford, or I want to go to any of the Ivy Leagues, or any good schools in UK. So what I will see that what type of diversity is there, how their pedagogy is, how the curriculum is, and what is their fee structure. Now, in return, when we want them to come to India, the first thing is that at the global level, our rankings, in keeping in mind the safety, the security, then the environment, that how clean and green environment is there. So we have to make very sure that when they are coming and when we are calling them, keeping in mind the population of our country and compared to the students living in other countries. So it's too much for them. I will give you one example which we are facing in our university. Since NEP has started, and we are very lucky that at this proper time after pandemic and during pandemic only, we were able to have this NEP 2020 where we are very free to have the students from global universities. So it's not, there is no taboo that we can't call them. But the only problem is when they are coming here, first of all, they see our websites. First of all, they see that how we are have standing in a global level. So for that, there should be some rankings. All the universities sitting here, the representatives, we should start working on the global rankings, for example, QS, for example, the higher education rankings. So that when they want to see that we want to go to this particular university, whether they are ranked globally, whether it's comparable with the international universities, and the culture of that particular country. So we have to make them understand that and we should not give them very flowery ads, something which is not there. So if they are coming and you have given something in your websites, or you have advertised something in the newspapers that we are doing this, we are doing that, and it is only on the papers, but we are not doing it, then through mouth, the next generation will not come to you. So I think we all should be very, very conscious about it, that whatever we are saying, we are doing it also. And the second point, which is very, very important, is that we have to make sure that our faculty members, our pedagogy, our systems, we have to train them according to the international standards. So that will be our, I think that will be our responsibility if we want to make our country a space for the global students to come.
Absolutely, and that's understandable because there's not a lot of information about Indian universities out there. So everything that they're knowing and from us is basically online, maybe some word of mouth. So we need to make sure we kind of check those boxes on the surface of it as well as in the universities themselves, and to make sure that there isn't any thing that's looks like maybe we're not giving the full information or not, and make sure they are aware of all the opportunities that are out there, and maybe getting that information about our universities, getting our students to speak about that can also kind of contribute to it. I would like to now move to Professor Sharma. Can I also ask you the same question? From your point of view, what are the challenges that are right now in place? Where do we need to meet up with the global demands?
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Let me start by sharing with you that I did my master's from Bath University, England, way back, long back. And later on, I studied at Pennsylvania University, USA. So I have been a student who went out, who had personal direct experience of what I was looking for as a student in a foreign university. And why would foreigners come to India? There is no doubt about it that we have a very rich heritage. In the ancient times, Takshila University, Nalanda University were world-famed universities, and there is a reference in history where Hume Sang came to India and he wrote about the Indian philosophy and the points of similarities and dissimilarities between the Indian culture and the Chinese culture, way back, long back, maybe 2000, more than 2000 years back. So we have a history of being a global hub. But where we stand today, we have to ask ourselves. Now, kindly forgive me, I have great respect for all teachers. I am myself a teacher, although I have worked at various places, both in industry and academia. I was a professor of economics at National Academy of Administration, Missouri, where I taught something like 1,100 IAS officers. So I have direct experience and how knowledge is different from training, how skill education is different from mere education or liberal education, and so on and so forth. So, why will the foreigners come to India? There was a time when I was taught by Professor V.K.R.V. Rao. V.K.R.V. Rao was one of the greatest economists in India who computed the national income of India or the GDP of India way back in 1931, 32, 33. I studied at the feet of Professor Sukhmoy Chakrabarty. He was a name as a director of the Delhi School of Economics. Professor Hanumanta Rao, great agricultural economist. So if we have professors of global standards, obviously the students will be attracted to India. So the first thing is, what is the level of our scholars, our great professors? Now I give you one example. At University of Pennsylvania, I was taught by Professor Guttentag. He was an expert in mortgages, designing of mortgages for housing finance. So when this global financial crisis struck the world in 2007, 2008, and say 9, I just Googled, where is Professor Gutentag? Because he was the man who gave this understanding that if you move this fan too fast, then the ceiling can be seen and the opaqueness of the fan will disappear. When I Googled it, I found he is still a professor at Wharton, teaching the same, and he was the biggest proponent of mortgage-backed securities. And he was at the center of the things. When I was his student, he was already, I think, 70. By now, he will be around 100. Around 100 in case he is alive. Professor Gutentag. So foreigners, being an Indian, I went to Pennsylvania to be in the company of Professor Gutentag because I wanted to be in the company of the best in the field, you see. So if we are able to have world-class professors, world-class scholars, world-class infrastructure, world-class ecosystem or the environment, and after the student has finished his studies, if he has prospects of getting absorbed by the Indian industry at the salary which is commensurate to the expectations of the individual who came from abroad, the way we go out, we want to first of all get absorbed by the industry or the corporate of the respective country. So if you have all this, and if you have scholarships, and if you have a regulatory environment in which investors can come from outside and make huge investment into education without any immediate return, you see, if you have all this, then obviously you can create a climate whereby the students will be attracted to our country. But my feeling is that we are quite far away from that. There is no harm in imagining and expecting that the things will change, but certain prerequisites are required in place before we can start attracting foreign students. Yes, one more thing, madam, if you allow me to say, there are 3 ways in which India can become a hub for foreign students. First is student mobility. That means the way I went out to study, foreigners can come into India in some universities. I have seen the literature. It says that these IITs, IIT Kanpur, Bombay, Delhi, Madras, they were all set up in the hope that foreigners will come and study there. Maybe some foreigners are there in these IITs, but still IITs are not known to be catering to the foreign students. So, the limited point I am making in the opening remarks is that we have to create an ecosystem in which the foreigners get interested into Indian universities. At this juncture, we are quite far away from that expectation. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, Professor Sharma. And I think that's a really good point to make. If we don't know where we are right now realistically, how can we improve upon that? And faculty is absolutely important to make sure we have good faculty, and also to make sure we provide faculty with the right opportunities so that they can also, do their research, and also they can realize their potential and make sure that they're also growing. It's not just about the students, it's also about the teachers and all of the stakeholders involved in education. Thank you for putting that so well. Mr. Mathur, I would like to bring you into the conversation at this point. And we've kind of talked about the visibility of Indian universities. We've talked about the faculty. Where else do you think, if we're talking about it realistically, where else are we lagging behind?
Yeah, I think it's a good question because It puts a sense of self-reflection on us that we have to also evaluate where the higher education sector of India is currently. We all know the statistics about the amount of money students are spending to go abroad, right? It's billions of dollars. I was just reading about, it is going to be forecasted that about $8 billion would be spent, or $80 billion would be spent in about a couple of years' time when we go abroad. So that just shows that so many great institutions could be built here with the same amount of money being spent. So why are we unable to do, right? We talk about great talent leading mega corporations in the US, all of them being of Indian talent. Let's talk about brain drain. I think somehow we have the resources. It is about the vision as well that is lacking. And we'll have to think about it. We ourselves as higher education institutions and universities have thought that our role is limited to providing good education and jobs, right? I understand it's a very big important need because jobs is definitely a big criteria, employability, and it's our role to do that. But we have not been able to think of universities here beyond that. Like when we talk about the big names that Sharma sir here has also taken, right? Somehow these institutions have not thought of themselves only in providing education and jobs. They have become thought leaders in their domain. Of course, research is one of those outcomes. But can we start thinking beyond education and thinking of research? And when we say research, it's not just about creating a good research environment here, but also looking at the world and trying to address the global challenges from our perspective. We have been very inward looking. So we have always thought only about Indian issues. We only thought about our students. But we'll have to take center stage, right? When the Prime Minister of this country goes abroad, right? He's being welcomed from all circles. Why? Because people are looking up to India in many ways. But the universities ourselves, we are not doing that. So can we talk about global climate change crisis, right? Definitely when, as sir is saying, we have a huge knowledge heritage. We have ways to contribute to address some of these issues. There's a global mental health crisis, right? We have evolved a lot of different knowledge systems here that can address them when we talk about yoga or Ayurveda or different knowledge sources that we have. But we are not addressing issues of global concern from our perspective. When we start doing that as universities here, that's also one other way global talent will be attracted to come here, right? So they will see, oh, this is the home of this knowledge tradition that is able to talk about global issues that are being faced today. Let us go to the home of the knowledge and try to study them, right? So if you take the big crisis, if you take climate, if you take mental health, if you take terrorism, any big issues which the Western knowledge systems have not been able to address, and we truly believe that we have a place that we can talk about these issues and address it. I think talent will come here because they would want to understand from us how it has been working here, right? And how we can learn from here and go. That is what Takshashila or Nalanda or any of the great universities did, right? Global talent came here to study these knowledge systems. So I think we will have to bring some focus on that. We will have to develop our own self-confidence, and we will have to develop a global outlook ourselves. That is also needed. We have been very inward-looking is what I would say. Yeah.
Absolutely. Join the conversation, start the conversation, give our 2 cents. And the best thing about being Education Institute, there's a lot of room for discussion. So you shouldn't be afraid about being wrong, right? There's always room to kind of grow on that and learn from that. But if we don't start talking, how will we even know where to go from there? Dr. Khanna, I hope you've had a chance to catch your breath. I would like to bring you into the conversation now. You've heard from your co-panelists about their take on what the challenges are. What about you? What do you think our challenges lie?
Yeah, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I would like to talk about this in 2 layers. I recently read an article which said that more than 11 lakh Indian students are traveling abroad for studies, whereas students who are coming from abroad to study here, they are around 44 or 45,000. So you can, and most of these students who are coming from abroad to study, they are coming at the undergraduate level, and they are coming from the emerging economies. Now, I think the first challenge that Indian education system should have is, how do you retain these 11 lakh students who are traveling abroad for education? Definitely, there is something lacking here because they are not getting attracted to their own home educational services that are being offered. So I think our role as captains of the higher education institutions, I think our role should be to create global quality educational systems in our institutions. And one of the ways I think in which we can do it is by going for global accreditations, because this will give a signal of global quality to people, to students, aspiring students around the world. Also, another thing I think all of us should be seized of the matter is that the teachers to whom our students go abroad, they learn from Indian teachers. You know, so somewhere, I think our own Indian teacher, when he goes abroad, he becomes a thought leader, he becomes a leading educationist. So why is it that we are not able to retain these very faculty? So people like us, we are only going abroad and doing so well, and then, you know, we are adding to the glory of these higher educational institutions abroad. In fact, if you see, even the dean of the Harvard Business School is an Indian today. So I think that shows that there is no dearth of talent in India. So whether we talk about teachers, whether we talk about intentions, I think all of it is there. Somewhere, I think we need to play the game differently and create these global signals of quality. Also, another thing is that India is a very big market today that everybody is recognizing, and even the Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister has said that we are going to be a developed nation in the next 25 years. The education will be the biggest pillar. We are also going to be the biggest consumer market. We have the leading multinationals working here. So when our students, if the education can rise to the occasion, and if we can provide global quality education, I think we can even provide global quality jobs. Because at the end of the day, in India itself, because at the end of the day, the objective of education is primarily today, it is for getting good employment. So with all the positive factors, I think somewhere the higher education institutes should get their, we should think in a different manner. I think the mindset shift is really very, very important. When you start thinking global, I think we will become global at least. And if few institutions start becoming global, then the rest will automatically start following these institutions which have succeeded in these, in trying to become global institutions. Also, I would like to add a small note here, if you permit me. I think the manner of teaching inside the classroom are we giving global quality, the teaching pedagogy, the methodology, are we following, is it a global education and teaching methodology, and also the acculturization of these international students. I mean, I know about this, that students who come from abroad, they find it very difficult to blend into the classroom. So I mean, when our students go abroad, I think those institutions, they make a lot of effort to blend the students into the classroom, and the students are coming from all over the world. Those students are not just from India, but they're coming from China, they're coming from Korea, they're coming from all over the world. So the institutions make efforts to create this acculturization process. I think we all need to do some root cause analysis and try to see that, given the circumstances, how best we can become global institutions. It is for us to think about all these things.
Absolutely. And Dr. Khanna, if I could just ask you another question, since you did start talking about the different cultures coming into India. And yes, of course, foreign doesn't just mean people from the US and the UK. There are so many other countries, so many other cultures that we want to attract. We want to get that diversity in. Can you tell me a little bit more about what kind of cultural sensitization needs to happen in India for us to make sure that when students do come in, that they feel comfortable and they do, like, not blended in completely, but at least enough to feel comfortable studying and staying?
Yeah, I think it's about, culture would be about mannerisms, about, the way we interact with each other. I mean, there have to be efforts to tell the students what is it that you expect when you come to India. I mean, when they come here, there may be so many surprises here, And I also think that every city has a different culture. Now, if you I come from Mumbai, and students who come from Delhi to our institute in Mumbai, the first culture shock they get is when the auto rickshaw fellow returns that 1 rupee back to him. So, I think every city has its culture, and our students, the students who are coming from abroad, they need to be sensitized to what to expect and how to behave, how to find their way around, you know. So all these things are there. Also, we are thinking that every student who's coming from abroad, he's English speaking, which may not be the case. There are students who are coming, who are speaking different languages. Like in Europe itself, you have so many languages and all. So all these things, I mean, how do you interact with women, with teachers, what is our power centers? All these things, I think, need to be, there should be a proper induction program for these students who come in. I think, and they should know, you know, I mean, it should be there on our website that, you know, there is maybe a few days or a 1 week acculturization program. So the students should get these signals that they are being welcomed and they are being assimilated into our Indian culture.
Maybe some counseling also, so that there's someone they can always go to.
Yeah,
mentors.
counseling, mentoring, and also, see, there is a lot of positives, but there are also a lot of negative things that are told about India. So, you know, I mean, the crime that happens, or, you know, all these things that happen, I think somewhere they also carry a lot of negative imagery in their mind. So somewhere I think we should sensitize them. I also think there could be some sort of a buddy system where, you know, the incoming student could get a local student who acts as his buddy or a mentor for, you know, maybe a month or whatever, like that. So somewhere some hand-holding, mentoring happens so that there's a nice acculturization that happens into our system.
Yeah, no,
We have to make them feel welcome, you know.
Yeah.
It's also like tourism. I think the same problem is in tourism also. We have such a big tourism opportunity, but I don't think we're exploiting it well. I think the issue is again the same there. The perception and the way we welcome people, I think that somewhere, I think that needs to be corrected.
Yeah, we'll take questions in the last 5-10 minutes of the conversation. Don't worry, I will open that up. And then you can speak. But right now, we can finish, let all the panelists have their say first. Actually, Mr. Mathur, can I bring you into the conversation now? Because there was something very similar we were kind of discussing before the panel to what Dr. Khanna has just mentioned about like the safety and stuff. Because, you know, yes, of course, there is a safety concern. There are negative news. But negative news comes from all across the world. We hear about negative things happening in the US right now. There's a lot of things happening. But people are still willing to go there. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think there are many things at play. I think ma'am has alluded to that some of it is true, some of it is blown out of proportion. There is a global media at play. We have somehow as a country, again I would say, we have not been able to share our side of the story very well globally. So yes, there have been incidents, but they get so much of visibility on the media stories globally in the front page that people have started developing a sense of this. While if you look at Indians globally, they have been the most law-abiding, tax-paying, highly accomplished professionals globally. So, but yet the media stories have been that way. Now, that's the way it is. Now we'll have to also introspect as a country that why do we harp so much on negativity. I have also studied in the US. I have also faced a discrimination there. But that's fine. I just make it as a one part of it. It's not, I don't label the entire nation to be that way because there has been a lot of support as well. Now that being said, I think as I said, we have to talk about our stories globally, proactively. Nobody else will do this for us. There have been great experiences of students who have come here and studied. How often do we speak about that? Right? There have been a lot of companies which are there globally coming and setting up shops here, right? And they have been doing so well. Unless they had looked for Indian talent and we welcomed all of them, I think this would not have been so. So I think that global media story is needed. Now, is it a role of our institutions in education? Possibly not. But can we also talk about this? There have been faculty in all our various institutions who have also come as visiting, as full-time faculty. Some of them have stayed back here. I think we are not talking about it as much. We should do that. While cultural process is needed, I think something that is also missing is we have not traveled as much abroad. That is starting to happen now. Right? See, how do I make somebody in my staff culturally sensitive when they have not even seen something there, right? So only when you travel, only when you meet, even within the country and abroad, you will start developing this sense that, oh, there are different people who think differently, behave differently, and they don't mean anything wrong. So a lot of role is there within institutions to train ourselves. There's a higher role at the policy makers as well as at the media level that has to be more responsible in what they do. I think you look at rest of the world, right? Their media doesn't berate their country like we do. There are wrongs everywhere, but not at, see, there is gun crime happening in US, right? Universities there, you don't know if you are going there in schools, right? All of you are school principals, many of you are here. They're training students to, what happens if somebody picks up a gun, how do I save my life, right? But then there are still, that is not taken as representing US culture, right? But somehow isolated incidents here are taken in that way. So we'll have to be careful about that. I think all of us have a role to play. Social media has a role to play. We as leading education institutions have a role to play. But we need to talk about our stories more proactively and put out the positive stories as well there. Right. Thank you.
Absolutely. Freedom of speech is not just about, yes, of course, you can talk about the negative things, but, maybe also bring in the other side of the conversation as well.
So I would like to say that we have islands of excellence in India. But, we don't showcase those stories. Like if you...
Can I add one point to his conversation? What we are doing is in our university that, well said by you, that there should be somebody who, because they have not visited other countries, so they don't know their culture, they don't know that how to talk to them, how to treat them. So what we have started doing is in our campuses that we are doing a global week in a year. So in Global Week, we call 70 to 75 professors all across the globe because we have a collaboration with 165 plus universities. They come to the campus, Chitkara University campus. They stay there for a week. They take one module, but what we do is we make from day one, a buddy too. As you said that buddy, I think you said that. But we did the buddy for the professor from the other countries, one buddy from our campus. They work together, and the outcome of that is for the last 11 years we are doing. So they have started working, they know their culture, they can talk to them, and now those connections have given us many research papers, which is Scopus and Dux. They are doing the joint research, and they have started guiding the students, where the co-guide is from that country and the guide is from here, or co-guide is from our university and the guide is from there. So now I think that buddy system, without visiting that country, they know how we have to treat them, and that is why so many professors have started coming to our campus, and they are staying, and you know that our university is in North, and we are known for the hospitality, good food, and good style. So it's all Punjabi's food. So now they have started enjoying the hospitality and the culture of Punjab, which is very, very rich. So I think this is the impact of, and this is the outcome.
Absolutely. Professor Sharma, I would like to actually also bring you in, if that's all right. We are talking about, changing the conversation and also, creating this awareness. And of course, the university has this, responsibility. But where else should the push come from?
Yeah. Well, I think that apart from creating a positive environment through media or putting stories, etc., these are all required, these are desirables. But we have to go to the core of the issue. Why will a foreigner come to India? Correct. Unless you are a center of excellence. Now, I will seek forgiveness first because many of you might be academicians. I am also one of the academicians. I have tried to put together in writing for myself that what is it that Indian academia can do to attract foreign students. My understanding is that the focus of academics is very different from the focus of industry. That means if we want to make an impact, we have to integrate academics with industry. And this dialogue is very important. I will take 2-3 minutes to tell you where academia stands and where the industry stands. For almost 25 years I have worked in industry, and for 25 years I have worked in academic world. So, number one, the academics focus of the academicians is on generating knowledge and awareness. Even if we are able to generate knowledge, I think we will be viewed as great people. I'm telling you. Generation of knowledge is different from picking up a book. Today, what is happening is, if you take a book of 1960 publication and then take a book of 2020 publication, there is hardly any change. It is static. It is where it was, you know. It is not reflecting the change in the marketplace. On the other hand, industry focuses on application of knowledge and value creation. Industry will not spend even a rupee unless the industry expects in return at least 5 rupees, you see. That is the minimum ratio. The return on investment. Actually, it is 1 to 10, but even if you take the most conservative estimates, it is at least 1 to 5, 1 to 6. Secondly, the focus of academics is on theory, concepts, and principles. The focus of industry, what industry needs is, business is all about problem solving. Academics does not focus on problem solving, they focus on repetitive learning, year after year, unfortunately. Academics follows general and universal approach. That is why it is called university, you see. Universal approach. But the same size of shoe will not fit everybody. Therefore, the industry focuses on specifics. And concrete solutions are appreciated. For example, when I was working in industry, one PhD was given to me. When I gave him a problem to solve, he is not able to say anything, you see. So there is no relationship between the academic qualifications and the ability of the person to perform in a specific role, you see. Academicians generally work alone. You can criticize me. I am giving a concept. Academicians generally prefer to work alone because when I am in the classroom, I am the king of my classroom. Nobody can interfere when I am there. Madam, आप तो वाइस चांसलर रहे अभी भी हैं. क्लास में कोई किसी के इंटरफियर नहीं कर सकता. If anybody enters the classroom, the fellow will feel slighted and there will be a problem, you see. On the other hand, industry needs collaboration and networking. Nothing can be performed in industry in isolation. You have to be a part of the team. Likewise, the research carried out in universities is unrelated to problem solving. I don't want to develop much on that. But those of you who are carrying out research must have appreciated by now what I am trying to convey. Research in the industry, on the other hand, has to be targeted. And it has to bring dividends. If it doesn't bring dividends, the fellow who was given the money will be punished in some way or the other. Likewise, the research in universities take very long time, 5 years, 6 years, whereas the research in industry has to be instantaneous because data collection, data analysis, application of algorithms, visualizing the patterns has to be done on a day-to-day basis. If the fellow is not responsive and if his reflexes are not up to mark, he will not be required in the corner room. So the perspectives are very different, you see. All academic institutions generally survive. Generally, after even 50 years, 100 years. But a firm in the industry, if it does not perform and if it is not able to meet the rival substitutes, will be made to leave the industry. So one is assured of its future. Industry, on the other hand, if you do not perform as a business world, then somebody else is waiting in the wings. Now that kind of environment is not there for the academics. Now if we want to attract global students or international students, our standards have to be raised, and standards can be raised by linking strongly and closely with industry. So this is the, since you asked me what is the new dimension I can lend, I think it is a close collaboration between academics and industry which can make academics relevant. And then there will be a shower of students on the Indian professors and Indian scholars. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Sharma, for summing that up so well. Now, what I would like to do is actually, I would like to go to each of one of you and ask you for your closing comments, 1 minute each, anything you would like to add to the conversation, and then open the floor to questions, because I think there are a lot of questions waiting for us. And so we can start with Dr. Khanna, please.
Yeah, I would like to say that, the value perception has to be focused on. The student, aspiring student, should see value in the educational offering that is coming from our Indian institutions. If the value perception is strong, I think there is no reason why the person who is going abroad will not stay back, and the person who is abroad will come to India. And irrespective, like one of the panelists has said, that even in US, there's so much of crime, there's so much of campus violence. In spite of it, people think that it's just okay, part of it, and in spite of it, they go abroad for studies because they see great value in the offering. I think same way, all of us, we should think about how do we create that overriding value perception so the person does not look at the negative news and just brush aside, whatever offering that we have. So this is a big challenge. I think all of us should really work towards creating the value perception for the student, because the educational service is a very complex service. It will define his entire life. Obviously, when he's shopping for educational service, he's going to be very, very careful and really pick and choose, especially at the higher education level. And it's not just the student, but the family, the community, everybody gets involved when selecting an educational institute. So I think it is for all of us to think about this and try to create that perception, try to up the offering that we are giving to the student community.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chitkara.
I think well said by Dr. Khanna, but what we should do is, adding to her point, that we should start working as well. I think one of our speakers said that industry-academia interface is very, very important. So we should start working, doing the research with them. And now what we have started working is that we have a 4,000 Scopus interest paper. So we are calling the industry that these are the results of these research papers, why they are wasting time, energy and time to ask somebody to work on their problems. So we are asking them that they should give us the problem and we will give them the solution. Now in this way, when we will be making our curriculum, keeping in mind the industry demand, so that curriculum will be very experiential, and when the students coming from other universities, from the global universities, their curriculum, if you study their curriculum, it is all based on experience. So it is not very theoretical. We have to change ourselves, and I think we have started changing our curriculum altogether. And if you see our components in our higher education, when NEP gave us that curriculum, and anytime ABC is given, so now you have an academic bank of credit. So you can take that credit from any of the global university, and if it is equivalent to your curriculum, you can make it a part of it. So if you are calling somebody from other universities globally, you can tell them that whatever you have done there, that can be equivalent with our degree, and we can add it into that ABC. So that will be a added, you can say, offer to them, and they will be very ready to come to India. And I think we can start with very small steps. Small steps can be, for one semester exchange, they can come. They can study here, they can see the environment, and if it is good, and if we are giving them a smart field to play, And then why not they will tell the other fellow students also that this particular university is very good, and we have experimented that. And we were able to get many students, because some students were very happy when they went back. They said that, okay, go to those universities. Some of the universities in India, I think they are having many students, again and again they are coming from the same university. So it means that if they are coming, so you have given them some type of very equivalent curriculum which they can compare, and seeing the culture and heritage of India and the places where they can visit. So they are very excited to come and very excited to see our culture. After every 150 kilometers, you have different dialect, you have different food habits, you have different style of wearing even the sari. So they are very excited. So I think our culture is so rich, we should be proud of it, and they are very happy coming to us. So if we are giving them a safe environment, which is very, very important. They are only and only worried about the environment, which should be safe. I request BW, from your platform, media should be very positive about the happenings which is daily happening. So try not to exaggerate those happenings in the media, so that the others should not see that and they should not be scared. I have seen in UAE, Dubai, Muscat, Oman, everywhere you see, when there is some negative news, it never comes as a first breaking news in the newspapers and in the media. So there they say that it's okay, but we have to take care that next time it should not happen. So I think we all should work together to make them comfortable in our country. So I think that.
Absolutely. Reporting, not sensationalizing is the
No
key.
sensational, no breaking news.
Yeah.
So everything is breaking here.
Yeah.
Nothing is joining.
Mr. Mathur.
Yeah,
please.
thank you. I think I agree with all the co-panelists. I just want to add something new, is that while industry collaboration, research, all this is definitely a basic hygiene that we should all have, I think we should also be aware that we don't just become something that we are not. I mean, we have something unique to contribute as well, because what is truly Indian in us should also not be forgotten. So going back to the earlier point I made, one is definitely the knowledge systems that have evolved in this land. Those are very unique. They have the potential to address a lot of the global challenges that are out there. So as universities, we should be able to offer them in our formal curriculum as well. So that is what people would come here to study. Would they come here to study the yoga or the Ayurveda or the different ways that we have been able to do things in this country? That is one thing which would attract people, because that is not being offered very well abroad. That's one. Secondly, we have been able to solve challenges of huge proportions in this country, and they are not being made into case studies. Just this example of COVID that has just happened, right? You have been able to deliver 200 crore doses of vaccination in a very record time, indigenously developed. Is there a global case study on this? Why have we not developed something on this? How are we able to be the largest functioning democracy of this world? How are we able to conduct elections of this magnitude so seamlessly and transfer of power happening so easily? It is a global case study that it happens. How are we able to send our missions to Mars or the moon on such low cost, right? That is a great frugal innovation that's happening here, but we don't write case studies on that. So I'm saying that we have to look into our past, delve into those knowledge systems, look into our present. How are we solving these global challenges? How are we solving challenges of India at this level? That is truly Indian about us. Unless we offer this, we will always be competing with the rest of the world. What is truly Indian in us? That has to be made into a global story. That is what will attract the global talent to come here, because they are dealing with these issues there. So I think we'll also have to be thinking about that and bringing formally into our curriculum, right? I'm surprised, like I had studied at the Indian School of Business, right? Why do we always study about case studies? Harvard, Kellogg, Wharton, great case studies, dude. But how is it relevant to what I'm studying here? So while we have our own amazing stories here to say, but we have not formally brought that into academia. We should be doing that. And that is what will be the X factor to invite global talent to come here. Yeah.
Can I add one point to her point? Because we are into Punjab, so we have created one chair, that is Guru Nanak Dev chair. So when my international students came, and they were so excited to know about all the preachings of Guru Nanak Dev, and they enrolled themselves in that course. Instead of enrolling themselves in the language in Japanese or in French, they started enrolling themselves in that because they thought that it's a very new thing for them, and those preachings will, because Guru Nanak Dev was the first person who worked on the physics scientific theories. So that I think we can develop that culture.
Yeah, I want to add the last sentence. I think the potential that we have to offer holistic education, this is something that I'm not sure whether the developed world can offer, but we have all of it with us. And you know, our yoga, our culture, our art, architecture, there's so much to learn from it. I think it is unbelievable palette and the variety of knowledge that we can take away and cross-link. I think that is something that we should all bring it forward, and we should create some sort of a platform which is holistic education and of global stature. That's how we should be going forward.
Absolutely, thank you. The last word goes to you.
Yeah, madam, one sentence I'd like to share is that every year, Indian students are spending 50,000 crore rupees abroad. 50,000 CRs. And on the other hand, students who are coming from outside into India are bringing in 7,000 crores. So huge market exists, but we should know how to tap it. Thank you. No, ma'am, it is
Thank you. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. I thought there would be time for questions, but we have to. I'm sorry, I'm being told by the organizers. But our panelists will be available, so you can ask them one-on-one. They are here to discuss.
Who are CEOs around the world. So are we saying we're anyway inferior? The problem is of an image dimension. What is India's image and what is the image of the country they want to go to? So people who are going there, they're not doing a word of mouth communication, telling them that, look, if you go to these institutes, you will be global CEOs. We are not communicating that. We are looking at education, curriculum. We are no way inferior. It's there.
Is that you should make the session interactive, participative, not listener and speakers. How much can you listen?
So
We are just
also
listening. There is
aspirational
no
to have-
participation. You know, amongst us also, there are very, very good speakers, much more knowledgeable. Why can't you listen to them?
Sir, we would
Make
love
it
to listen to
participative,
everyone.
interactive, just not a speaker and listener. How much can we listen? Tell
Okay, you
me.
can just
How many of us have-
please give your
Absolutely, sir.
question. I mean, yeah.
Agreed. We absolutely get your point. Let's have a huge round of applause for him first, for his energy.
Tell all the moderators
And now your
also.
question, sir. But we'll keep it short, please.
Yeah.
Request.
Madam, you had touched
Yes,
how
sir.
to attract
Yes, sir.
foreign students and how to stop our students to go abroad.
Right.
But what is the, modus operandi? How stop it? That has not been touched that at length. I suggest you one thing. Unless we resort to 3D animation in our study curriculum, we cannot attract students. We are just bookish. We are teaching students from the books only.
Right.
Whereas animation is the one which attracts students. That gives much more result. Even our students also. If you teach them through animation, 3D animation, they will grasp much more than what they are doing it from books. That we have not touched. This
I
part-
think the role of technology
Yeah.
and experiential learning, I think hands-on learning. Otherwise, as you have rightly said, a lot of our knowledge is very bookish knowledge. I think we should let the student go out and hands-on, put his hands on the problems and try to create solutions for these problems. I think our students are smart. I think we are an intelligent country. We have the top companies, their CEOs are all Indians. We can see all these things. So they are our products only. They have come from here.
Sir, sorry if it will not hurt you. I will tell you one thing, that India is a country with 140 crores of the population, and during COVID 2 years, from P to P, from kindergarten, primary to PhD, everybody was taught through
That's very true.
technology, and we were the only one. It's an example for the whole world that they were not able to do that, but we were ready when our teachers, some of the teachers were having a fear. Sir said that they were the king in the classroom. Nobody can enter their classroom, so they were the kings. But here the parents were entering into their classrooms, the relatives were entering into their classrooms, and see that they were not prepared for it. Within 1 week, in our country, 22nd of March, they declared, 30th of March, they were ready for the show. So I think we should pat ourselves that we are the best, and that is why within 10 years, we will rule the world. We have to be very positive. Actually, what we did in 2 years, nobody can did it.
Absolute.
Very true. Very, very adaptable. And I mean, it shows a lot that how quickly we are able to adjust to the difficult situations. I mean, I think all these are very good pointers that, you know, the talent and everything is available with us. We just need to put our act together so that we can really
that
become
challenge has
world-class.
become an opportunity for the Indians. Now
Correct.
we are the winners all the way, and now that is why our honorable Prime Minister, whenever he goes somewhere, there is always a halla sheri for him, because we did something in doing the dose for this COVID, that dose given by the India, and I think that is remarkable, and hats off to all our doctors, all our nurses. Front runners were the teachers.